Cinemasinssins, everything wrong with disappears before Cinemasinns does.
Disney logo alone now takes up 33 seconds of screen time, followed by a retro Disney logo that itself takes 16 seconds.
Not gonna lie here, I actually liked the logos at the start of this film. Between the music and the suspense of the whole thing, the logos really just got me in the mood for the film, you know?
That doesn't change the fact that the logos were there taking up time, even if you personally had no problem with it. Also, you sin him before his sin counter finishes.
Maui tried to escape, but was confronted by another who sought the heart.
What can I say? It's exposition.
I'd just like to point out that later in this video, Jeremy sins The Rock for bad singing.
That is an observation, not a sin. Cinemasinssins must learn the difference between a sin and an observation. You should have worded it, Jeremy sins The Rock for bad singing, even though his singing is worse.
Also, I feel like it doesn't really count as exposition when in the end it turns out not to be true anyway.
The definition of exposition is a comprehensive description and explanation of an idea or theory. So yes, it does count. Cinemasinssins stays on this frame for too long when going to the next sin.
Look, sea turtles are given one shot. They either make it to the water or they don't. I'm not sure that overly assisting this one baby is actually helping anyone, since he is weak and will likely be killed at sea early on.
Jeremy is Turtle Hitler.
Jeremy is stating a fact, not his personal beliefs. Big difference, even though it is meant to be a joke. People aren't supposed to interfere or aid sea turtles in this way. As NSU states, never interfere with hatchlings emerging from nests or walking along the beach towards the water. They have their natural ability to walk to the water from what seems like long distances for such small animals. By interfering with this trek, you are not helping these babies gain the information and skills they need to survive and return as adults.
Also, the main problem that this turtle seems to suffer from is that there are two birds trying to eat it. This is something that in Jeremy's mind qualifies as a weakness. Yes, this turtle is just too tasty to survive. To be fair, that is why the Galapagos turtles died out. Literally, look it up.
You literally admitted with an example that your sin was wrong. Sea turtles are weak to birds. That sounds like a Pokemon type, but it's true. They are meant to be food to them and many other things when they are first born. This one clearly did not pass the test.
Our traps in the East Lagoon, they're pulling up less and less fish.
They're pulling up fewer and fewer fish. Yeah, get your grammar right, starving man.
This should only be included in missed sins.
He took a canoe, Moana.
Ah yes, here's the flashback I was talking about, wherein someone close to the chief died, and he got deathly afraid of ever losing anyone again. Remind me again how this is different from Finding Nemo?
In like most ways that it could possibly be different, it is different. You know, like plot, themes, whether or not it is a musical, species of protagonist, and almost all characters. Yeah, this movie really doesn't have that many things in common with Finding Nemo.
Jeremy sins the same thing twice. He apparently thinks, if there is water and an overprotective dad, it is automatically a rip-off.
When I die, I'm going to come back as one of these.
Literally.
How do you come back as something, but not literally come back as that? Especially since in the actual movie she comes back as a spirit version of that, and thus not literally one of those manta rays. Also, this is not a sin.
The village is starving. There are no fish within the reef anymore. Well, except, 5 manta rays, but those don't count for some reason. You see, we would eat those, but we can't, because they're too busy circling ceremoniously around Moana's grandma.
This should only be included in missed sins.
Bang the drum.
Grandma did say bang the drum, but despite the 2 sticks on top, this looks nothing like a drum. Grandma should have been more specific, and said bang the upside down all wood horsey saddle looking thing.
Jeremy sins this for not being a drum. Jeremy does not realize that other cultures have different types of drums.
Also, at the risk of sounding cynical,
Jeremy bothers to open one sin with the words "also at the risk of sounding cynical." This would be an appropriate thing to put in front of basically every sin Jeremy has ever made. Why is this the one sin that gets special at the risk of sounding cynical treatment?
If you finish his sin, the fiction versus non-fiction also applies here.
Also, at the risk of sounding cynical and anti-ghost music, how the f*** does playing these old-ass moisture-logged drums wake up the fire ghosts and give her literal visions of her ancestors? The movie doubles down on non-existent fishhook constellation.
Okay, Jeremy, let me break this down for you. In media as a whole, there are two main kinds of writing. The first kind is called fiction. This includes stuff like Harry Potter, Doctor Who, yes, I'm British, get over it, and Moana. Also, well, did you know that there are people who genuinely believe that Doctor Who is based on a true story? There's an entire video of evidence, which is basically just someone found a police box somewhere, and also there's some footage from the 60s of a guy who kind of looks like Matt Smith chilling with the Beatles. Which, that's just such flawed logic, my gosh. Anyway, the other kind of writing is called non-fiction. Now that you know that, I'm sure you won't make a sin for something like this again.
I get the joke, but this is redundant. A simple Jeremy doesn't understand fiction versus non-fiction would have sufficed. Cinemasinssins said, won't with an M sound. Every time this pops up, alternative is spelled wrong.
I killed an eel, I buried its guts, sprouted a tree, now you got coconuts.
This movie is really playing fast and loose with evolution.
Okay, Jeremy, let me break this down for you. In media as a whole, there are two main kinds of writing. The first kind is called fiction.
I get the joke, but this is redundant. A simple Jeremy doesn't understand fiction versus non-fiction would have sufficed.
Why would you even try this?
We're trapped in a cave, we're gonna starve, but hey, you don't want to hurt your shoulder, that would be bad. I guess I'll just sit back and resign to death.
If there is a giant rock, it's usually a bad idea to ram your shoulder into it with all the force you can, since it will most likely not help if pushing the rock didn't help, and it will injure your shoulder, making it harder to escape and move the rock. Cinemasinssins says,
we're trapped in a cave, we're gonna starve.
Even though only one person is present in the movie.
Let's fatten you up, drumstick.
Yeah, I agree.
You removed a sin from Cinemasinns that he also removed. Are you removing it because you laughed at the same joke? That is worthy of a sin.
But also...
Don't you fucking dare!
Cinemasinssins gave Jeremy a sin for saying the word also. Is he sinning Jeremy for starting to make a sin his job and the name of the channel?
They threw me into the sea. Like I was nothing.
Yes, the movie is repeating this super horrible backstory, but it's also super horrible, kind of too heavy for this light of a movie. So one sin for a movie that just had a gilded singing crab showpiece trying 5 minutes later to hit me in the gut with literal child tossing.
Ah yes, because no other Disney movie has done anything dark like this. Seriously, has Jeremy seen Lion King? The 2 overlaps with the colon for all sins 20 and above. Since it is the same number though, I'll be generous and only add one sin. Technically not a sin on the movie, but neither of you mentioned the terrible pop song version of How Far I'll Go by Alexa Carey that removes all emotion and meaning of the song. Also, the somehow worse You're Welcome pop song that I don't want to talk about.
Pop song, if I've